What's up, podcast listeners? It is Ryan Frank, and welcome to the KidzMatter Podcast. So grateful that you are here today. Question before we jump in, have you checked out the new, updated KidzMatter Pro? If you haven't, you need to go check it out. Go to KidzMatter.com. You can start your free 30-day trial. KidzMatter Pro exists to give you the training, resources, and community that you desperately need and that we all desperately need to lead a growing, healthy children's ministry. We have monthly master classes. We have a members-only podcast, member makeovers, an exclusive community, leadership resources, stuff for your volunteers, monthly bonuses. You get a magazine subscription in the mail to KidzMatter Magazine. And it's all new. Hundreds of you just in the last couple of weeks have jumped on to start your free trial. Please go check it out. I promise you're going to love it. And if you don't love it, cancel within the first 30 days. It does not cost you a thing. Here's the deal. I want you to lead a growing, healthy ministry. I want you personally to be in a spot where you are growing and healthy. And this is what is driving the new KidzMatter Pro. So go check it out at KidzMatter.com. Make sure to put a Z in there, KidzMatter.com. Today we are talking about your first 12 months in KidMin. Now, if you have been in KidMin longer than 12 months, don't tune out. I promise you are going to find a lot of value in today's session. But we are focusing today on those of you that are brand new as a KidMin leader, or you are in a new ministry setting. We're going to talk about things like setting priorities. How do you build trust with people? Because when you're new, it takes a while to build trust. But as Stephen Covey taught us so well in his book, The Speed of Trust, things only move at the speed of trust. So you do have to build trust with people. We talked about strategies for setting achievable goals and developing a clear vision. Corey and I talked about common challenges that new KidMin leaders face and how to navigate them successfully. He also shared some resources and support networks that are beneficial for new leaders in kids ministry. Corey Jones and his wife Nicole are part of the ministry here at KidzMatter. They are on staff at a wonderful growing church in Carrollton, Georgia. They are the co-hosts of our KidzMatter Pro members-only podcast. They're part of our KidzMatter conference team. And if you've been around KidzMatter very long, you know Corey and Nicole Jones. Now, I do want to tell you that about the first 6 minutes of the podcast, Corey's microphone was kind of in and out. You can hear him, but the quality is not that great. It gets better at about 6 or 7 minutes in because we had Corey take his earbuds out and it got crystal clear. So bear with us the first 6 or 7 minutes of the podcast, but then it gets a lot better. Friend, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to go check out KidzMatter.com and start your free 30-day trial to KidzMatter Pro. I promise you're going to love it. Now, with that being said, let's get this show on the road. Here is my conversation with Corey Jones about your first 12 months in KidMin. What's up, Corey? Welcome, welcome. How's it going?
Man, it's going great. We're after Easter now, and so I can breathe like a sigh of relief. Sunday, we baptized 18 people, and so just super exciting season.
Down the 18 people.
18, a couple of different families, dad baptizing his son. There was an older lady that got baptized. I always love when the older people give their life to Christ. You're like, heck yeah, not too late.
That is awesome. How exciting. And you guys had a good Easter at church? I know you and I text back and forth a little bit, but you have 7 services and they were full?
Just 7. It was a little insane, but we gave our staff off Monday and Tuesday, catch your breath, and it was good.
Nice. Well, Corey, we're talking about your first 12 months in kids ministry. So there are a lot of people out there that are just starting. They're either new in their leadership role, they've never led kids ministry before and they're new, or they find themselves in this new ministry context at this new church. And you remember those days when you were brand new at the church, brand new in your ministry role? They can be a little overwhelming. Exciting, but overwhelming, can't they?
How old were you in your first 12 months of ministry?
Yeah, I think I would have been in college. For me, it was a little weird because my first ministry was at the church where I grew up at. And I never really left because I went to college at Indiana Wesleyan, which is in our hometown. So I kind of stayed, kind of transitioned from like leading to being in charge through college. So it wasn't like a brand new church, but as far as technically being the children's ministry director, I probably was 20 years old, 21, maybe junior in college. What about
What a
you?
little kid.
A kid, a
I was a
baby.
senior in high school, so yeah, super young. My first time being first. I've had a couple of firsts over the
Yep.
years, but
Yep.
first time being first. I was
Yeah.
18. Yeah.
So, Corey, what would you say to somebody, who's new let's say they're either new to church or they're just new? What are some priorities that you've got to get right? Because it can be overwhelming. You've got so many new people to meet, so many things to do, so many ideas that you have that you'd love to implement. Is it simple enough as saying, hey, here are a few things I would make sure that I would get right in those first 12 months?
I'd say in your first 12 months as a KidMin leader, building trust is paramount.
Yeah.
So start by, and it might sound weird, but start by doing nothing. Observe, ask questions, establish relationships. So you're not coming in doing everything, changing everything. You're listening and learning. You're understanding the culture. You're understanding the current state of things. And in this first stage, you're building trust. You're establishing relationships. And so I'd say, KidMin leader, first, you're going to be connecting with a lot of the leaders in your church. You're going to be grabbing coffees, going to meals, before and after service, being very intentional in getting to know your people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'd say eventually, once you've built a little bit of trust, you're listening to problems, you're hearing the current state of things. I'd say to fix something, but fix something small. And so solve a problem that makes things just a little bit better for your team or a little bit better for your families. And this will demonstrate that you were listening to them, that you are a valuable member to the team. You're building trust. Man, I can remember when I first started in my current church. This was 2010, 2011, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I talked to my small group leaders, and I walked into a very healthy ministry. There was great volunteers, great retention with the team. And so I came in and I was like, sweet, I don't see a lot of problems that I need to solve, but I talked with them, learned that like in the small group time, there was probably too much stuff. They were given a manual every month, and it was 150 pages every month. So it was a beast of a thing. And it just had so many options, which is great. It's great having options, but 150 pages was overwhelming. And then there was a DVD that went along with it that they could watch. And so it's just too much. And they kept asking, like, can we simplify things? Can we make it easier? And I was like, yes. I don't want to come up with 15 options for you a week either. But let's just make it easier. And so I listened to their problems. I listened to get to know them, and then just made small changes at the beginning. I think that's key.
I love that. Corey, our audio engineer is asking me, we're getting some weird feedback and you're smirking because I'm the audio engineer. Will you try taking your earbuds out because it's a little echoey? Yeah. That's better. That's better. Okay. That's perfect. We were hearing you, but it was a little echoey. Good. My sound engineers back there say that's much better. Okay. No, Corey, I love that. Start by building relationships, because at the end of the day, Stephen Covey wrote the book, The Speed of Trust, right? And you only get things done at the speed of trust. I know we're going to transition into trust in a minute, but you've got to, instead of just coming in and, you've got all these grandiose ideas and just making things happen, you don't want to do things alone. You've got to do them in the context of a team, but it does take some trust. It takes some relationship building, listening, investing in those relationships. And I love what you said about just starting, even in those first months. You don't have to change the entire ministry, but make some small changes, solve some problems. And I love that, solving problems. I mean, that might even be better wisdom than just launching new ministries or new programs, is identifying some problems and solving them, because you become a hero, don't you?
And the reality is, you might not fully grasp the vision and goals of the entire church. And if you don't understand what you're walking into and the history of it, you might be creating some division or some dissension. And that's not your intention. But if you don't understand it, then you could be going sideways. So
yeah, that's a
get
really
to know your people.
Do you think there's a magic time, like, okay, if you're going to implement some major changes, is there a magic window of opportunity, or maybe magic's not the right word, a golden window of opportunity, like, man, you should do it like between 12 months and 24 months, or you're too late? Or does that window of time even exist?
I would say it probably depends on your church and your church culture. That in my church context, we change stuff often. We move and pivot really, really quick and really fast. And it's not if someone came to me that was new with an idea, I'd be like, yeah, let's go. But there's some churches where adjusting the furniture, not getting rid of the furniture, but adjusting the furniture is going to make people uncomfortable.
Yeah. And
so if you're in a church where small changes get felt across the organization, then I would caution you, your timeline is going to be slower than other people's timeline, and just be very conscientious of that. I'd ask your pastor, how do you think people would react to such and such a change, and see what his gut feeling is, because he's probably been there for a while and he can help guide you.
I think you're exactly right. Lean in on that. Let's come back, Corey, to what we were talking about, trust and relationships. The whole speed of trust idea, that, if nobody trusts you, it's going to take you a really, really long time to get things done. But the more your volunteers trust you, the more your pastor trusts you, the more the families in the church trust you, the quicker you can get things done. So what does this look like for a new leader to build trust and relationships with people? Any tips for effectively going at that, knowing that it is hugely, hugely important in the long game of my ministry?
Yeah, I think about the people who you personally trust, and people that you have a relationship with. How did that come to be? It didn't just happen all of a sudden. Some of that took building personal connections and getting to know somebody's heart. A lot of it took time. A lot of it took consistency. So your volunteers and your families, they might trust you, some out of position. You've stepped in, you got the seal of approval from the board or whomever. And so there might be a little bit of trust up front, but it's going to take some time. It's going to take them knowing that you genuinely care, that you've taken time to notice them, that you've communicated thoughtfulness, that you've added value to them and their journey and their ministry. That, like, even just your training, what you do to help them out, that it's intentional and that you're recognizing them. And so maybe an indicator here would be your volunteers. If they don't show up, what are you communicating and how are you communicating it? I think that can build trust, or that can easily destroy and hurt your ministry. Are you communicating that you genuinely care, that you appreciate the volunteer for who they are, the ministry that they're doing? Or is it that there's a hole in the spot and you are condemning them and you're disappointed that they didn't do their job? What are you communicating in there? Are you building trust with your volunteers? I can think back to some of the times where I made some changes. Like, we used to not do a VIP pre-service meeting. And I was like, we're missing something here. I shadowed a couple other children's pastors and saw the camaraderie of their team. I saw the vision of it's not just Sunday, but there's so much more. And so I came back and wanted to implement VIP meetings pre-service with my volunteers.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had a lot of trust established, but honestly, I hadn't thought through what the VIP meetings are going to look like on a consistent basis. And so it was a thing where I lost some trust. It was a time waster, and it wasn't communicated clearly. And I had to backtrack, which revolved around some apologizing and repenting. I needed to be more intentional about it. Bonus tip for you. For like 2 months, wrote out on a postcard or printed out what we talked about in our VIP meeting. And so if someone didn't show up, I handed it to them, communicated that I missed them, communicated the value of what we had talked about. And so it helped reestablish that. But
That's
man,
good.
our volunteers, they're volunteers. They're not paid. They're showing up to do this ministry. And so if you're not communicating with them, if you're not saying thank you and recognizing their efforts, if you don't follow through, these are things that you need to be on your face, repenting before God with, that you didn't steward the gift that he gave you, as well as your volunteers.
So true.
And we all do it. We have dropped the ball. So it's okay. You can repent and make it right.
Yeah, you can. Corey, that's so good. I love what you said too, that toward the beginning there, that it takes time. Give yourself time. We live, I feel like our culture today, it's like, if I order something on Amazon and it doesn't come tomorrow, I'm like, what the heck? It's not I got to wait 2 days on this thing to come, right?
2 more days.
Exactly. I mean, I expect things to come that day or the day. We want things now. And it's just such a part of our American, way of life. But some things take time. And I think that this is a perfect example that when you think about your team, your leaders, those families, you don't build trust overnight. Now you can lose it overnight, but you can, it really is a patience game. What about, Corey, building trust with your pastor? So would you speak to somebody who's new on staff, they're new at a church, whether it's their pastor or their executive pastor, whoever they report to? How do you build trust with leadership in the church? Is it the same thing that it's a slow build, be patient, or are there some proactive things that you can do to build that trust?
I would say it's pretty similar. With my lead pastor, I'm blessed in an opportunity where he is a integratable guy as well as a transparent guy. And so like this morning we do a weekly elders meeting where we pray and talk about scripture, and then once a month we have a business meeting. But in our prayer meeting this morning, our lead pastor essentially said, "Hey guys, I need you to pray for me because tonight I'm going to be preaching, and I am struggling with this topic, and I'm supposed to get up and preach on it. Come on." So he was asking for prayer. He was very transparent with that. And so in my context, it's so much easier for me to follow a pastor who leads with integrity and who also leads with transparency, so that when things come up in my life, like yesterday, I was sharing with you before the call, yesterday was a hard day for me. And it wasn't that there was drama or things, I wasn't feeling it. That it happens. And so I went home early. But I talked to my pastor about that this morning, and I wanted to be honest with him. I went home early, and so I wanted him to know that. But two, to know where my heart was, and that it was better today, but yesterday I was struggling. And so I think there's little things like that you can do where you're opening up and sharing your heart with your leader. I do think, especially with your lead pastor, he is probably protecting you from things that you don't know. And so there's times where you might need to trust him and trust that he's protecting you. And so I've just seen that time and time again where a staff member might not assume the best, but I know more of the story. I'm like, man, you don't even have a clue that right now,
so true.
there's 6 or 8 people that are coming after you because of this thing, but our lead pastor is being compassionate and following God's spirit and not putting that on you right now because it's just not necessary. And so I would assume the best with your leader. I would trust him. And over time, I would say the change metaphor, putting change in your pocket. I think that's one of the best metaphors of trust. That day one with my lead pastor, I'm probably going to start with $10 of change in my pocket because I'm like, I just trust the guy, and he's in a position. I know God put him in the position, and the lead pastor role is just so hard. I know I'm not built for it. And so I'm going to start with a lot of change in the pocket for the lead pastor. And then over years and times, different stories, I'm going to be adding change to the pocket. And no, he's not perfect. No person is. And so your lead pastor is going to drop the ball. He is going to tell you he's going to do something and then later not do it or forget. Or the plan's going to change and he's just not going to be able to fulfill it. And so, you will lose some change over time, but hopefully you're adding more coins into your pocket. Maybe even if you're right now finding yourself at a spot where you got some nickels and dimes, you might intentionally try to set up a lunch to build a little bit more change in the pocket, do something you like, as far as it depends on you. Live at peace with one another is what Scripture says. So maybe you need to go out and above and beyond and build some change. But at this point, I feel like I'm rambling, so I'll let you take it.
No, but those are good rambles. Those are good. You got a lot of good little nuggets in there, Corey. Corey, would you speak to what's it look like as far as creating a clear vision for the children's ministry, establishing some goals? Would you give some advice to new KidMin leaders out there in a new setting? You know, that people are looking to them as the leader to set the vision and set goals. What advice or strategies would you offer?
Yeah, so you're new. I said it at the beginning. You kind of start by doing nothing. And part of that is you are understanding the vision of the church. You're understanding where you currently are, because it's hard to figure out where you're going without knowing where you currently are. It's like trying to navigate to Indiana. It's different depending upon where you're starting. You might go north or you might go south. So start by figuring out this vision. Think of it like a roadmap. Where are you at right now? And where are you going? Start by assessing your current resources, your current needs, your current goals. What has the kids ministry been working on before you even step foot in the building? Because there might be some current things that you need to be aware of. And then, Ryan, I love the SMART acronym for goals, something that is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. I think for me, I feel like that's a really bad goal. I want it to be measurable. I want it to actually be achievable. I've also heard relevant or realistic. I think both of those kind of fit in there, because if you walk in and you're new and you go, all right, I want to be a children's ministry of 50,000 kids, that might not be a realistic goal for you. So
That's a good point.
Think about that. Let's see. If you're brand new, I would also beyond encourage, I would implore you to be involving your key stakeholders, who are the people that have been in the ministry for a while. If you quit tomorrow, who are the people that are going to continue Sunday making it happen? Because you have some key people. Even if you're brand new stepping in, there's some key leaders there. I would listen to them regularly, reviewing with them, taking their feedback and adjusting the goals that are there. Man, if I'm thinking back to when I first started in my current church, like I said, it was an easy start. I walked into a healthy ministry. I'm very thankful for the previous kids pastor who championed kids ministry and built a cool program.
Yeah.
One of the things that my small group leaders kept saying was that the large group time, it didn't engage our upper elementary, specifically the boys. And so that was very quickly one of those things that I went, all right, vision for my kids ministry. Like, I want my older kids leaders. I don't want them bored. I don't want them disengaged.
Right.
So here's a problem that I need to fix. And honestly, I wanted like the next Sunday to change it. I knew like in my previous church, I did skits, and that would engage people and make them laugh. I could incorporate skits into this. I could do object lessons, illustrations, little magic tricks. Do you ever do many magic tricks in your kids' ministry?
I do, actually. Yeah, I don't do as many as I used to when I was younger, but yeah, I do. Kids love magic tricks.
I love them too. It's probably the most nervous I ever am.
Oh,
in front of an
100%.
audience, though.
100%.
I hope it works.
Yeah, there are. I mean, I would hate to tell you there are how many magic tricks I bought, spent good money on, but I never did because I was too afraid to do them because, I'm with you on that. I'm a nervous wreck, but they're so fun to do. Yeah, and
one of those things.
Yep.
So I talked with my leaders and I said, what do you picture? What do you see being something that engages the upper elementary kids? I got their feedback. I also put my 2 cents in and was like, have we done skits before? How'd those go over? What could we do? And then with the goal setting, it's supposed to be time bound. It's supposed to be something that you like can actually measure and figure out. And so when I was talking with them about it, I was like, what's a good timeline to incorporate this? What seems healthy? And I got their feedback on it. And honestly, I remember at the time they wanted me to wait 2 months. And I was like, that's forever. It's 9 weeks from now. I can't wait that long. But in hindsight, I was glad that I waited that long because I was able to build a team, and the team was able to be established before we just launched it. And so I had longevity in that team, retention in that team. The 2 months also gave me time to get some good props and to actually like figure out what the set's going to be and that kind of stuff. It built excitement. I was able to tell the kids, hey, in 4 weeks, we're going to be doing this thing and it's going to be hilarious. I was able to make some videos that, dating myself a little bit, but like with a camcorder and editing them together and putting it out there so that the kids were excited about it. But it was one of those things where I had this vision of what the kids ministry can be. And I think if I would have jumped in on week 2, it could have been one of those sizzle in the pans that just didn't go over as well, especially with some of my key leaders. And so I'm glad that I listened to their advice. I'm glad that I took 2 months and was able to connect the vision pieces and not just go, okay, here's what I've seen another church do, or here's what I saw at a conference and let's do it tomorrow. But helping them get to that point over the next 2 months, they were able to launch it successfully. Yeah,
I love it. Corey, let's wrap up with this question. I know you have been, and then we'll go to our last 2 questions, but you've been, a part of the DNA of KidzMatter for so many years. You've helped us build this new KidzMatter Pro. You're a student of, our I Love KidMin Facebook community. So you've got your ear to the rail. What would you say are a few of the big challenges that new KidMin leaders face, and how can they navigate them? Let's rapid fire a few of these.
Navigating the resistance to change. I think there's a lot of churches that do things the way they've always been done. So for you, kids pastor, trust God, trust what he's doing, celebrate small wins, build some momentum, get the change. Time management.
Boy, that's
wow.
That's true.
There's always more prep that you can put into the lesson. There's always more discipleship. There's always more events. Managing your time means prioritizing the tasks based on urgency and importance, putting them on a little matrix thing, creating to-do lists. I'd say go buy Jim's book, Beat the Clock. That one has helped me drastically with time management. And then resolving conflict. You're stepping into a people ministry, kids, adults, parents. And it is one of those challenges that it's a blessing and a curse. It's job security. But I would say to approach conflict with empathy, be willing to understand both parties. There's times where, there's a proverb that I should memorize, but you listen to one side and it sounds right until you listen to the other side. So listen to both sides. And then pretty much 95% of the conflicts that I've stepped into, especially as a new kids pastor, felt so much bigger than it actually was. Once I stepped into the room and talked to them, I built it up in my head so much more. And so approach conflict with the Matthew 18, where you're dealing with a person, and then bring someone in, bring it before the church. But also don't let a bunch of time go by, because that only compounds things. So don't get scared.
Boy, that is good stuff right there, Corey. Well, before we get to our last two questions, I guess I want to ask you one more question, because you are an idea guy, a resource person. If you're talking to a new kids pastor out there, new KidMin leader, somebody that's new to church, what resources or support networks would you say, hey, you've got to make sure you're part of this? This is going to help you out as a new KidMin leader. What would you recommend?
Top pick, I would say the I Love KidMin group. And I realize that's Ryan and I's group, and we help make it happen. But there are how many people in that group?
32,000-ish. Yeah.
32,000 people that love what you do and want to help you do it. And you can also search in there and just find so many ideas. And so I Love KidMin, join the group. It's a wealth of people and resources and time. Oh gosh, it's good. KidzMatter Pro. I feel like I would do you harm if I didn't mention that one. It's your go-to resource. And man, Ryan, could you talk about the member makeover? Because that's one that I don't fully understand, and I think it could be great.
Definitely. Yes. So go check out KidzMatter Pro. Part of KidzMatter Pro, I just talked to somebody, Corey, on Monday this week, and they're like, and this is somebody who's been in kids ministry for a long time. They're like, well, I wish something like this existed when I started. And so go check it out. Part of KidzMatter Pro is that we do frequent member makeovers. So a member of KidzMatter Pro, you apply for a makeover, and we literally, our panel of KidzMatter coaches, we record this on Zoom, but we do a Zoom call with you, and we help you overcome that challenge or launch that new ministry, or, push through this hurdle, whatever it is that you're really struggling with, whether it's a pain point or whether it is, something that is on your heart that you just are trying to figure out, how do I push this hill, this mountain, this rock over the hill and get the ball rolling? We help you with that.
I'll say, in my ministry, I wanted to launch a preteen ministry. I would have never gone over that hump and actually got it rolling without people like Sean Sweet, who poured into me and helped me see what I wasn't seeing.
So true.
All right, then Ryan, if I get one more, I would say the KidzMatter conference. I've got to give a shout out to. There's 200 keynotes and specialized breakouts, and so if you're new, you can pick the things that you want to learn, the things that you need to hear. I would highly suggest that. There's last time I saw 110 resource providers. And so if you're like, what is there in kids ministry, like for chairs or for entertainment or for games, like all of those things? Those are resource providers that love kids ministry and are paying to come and share with you what they have. And then there's 3,000 attendees. I know locally for me, I've yet to be successful creating a local network in any of the towns that I've lived in, but I am close friends with so many of the people who attend KidzMatter, and they're people that I can call and talk to all the time about what's going on in my ministry. And most of those people I met at the actual conference. And so if you're looking for specialized teaching, specialized resources, or people, KidzMatter conference.
Well, thank you, Corey. I'm going to drop links to all of these in the show notes on YouTube and wherever you listen to the podcast. I'll link to Jim Weidman's Beat the Clock book, our I Love KidMin Facebook community, KidzMatter Pro. You can start a free trial for 30 days. Don't take Corey and my word for it. Go try it for yourself, as well as the KidzMatter conference. Corey, this has been so practical and helpful. Thank you so much. I always like to end the podcast with 2 questions. I know I've asked you this before. Maybe it'll be the same answer. Maybe it'll be different. Question number 1, what's your favorite Bible story? Why is it your favorite Bible story?
Well, I would say my favorite Bible story of today, because it does change as I go. Yes. Right now I'm reading about David and David's unwavering trust in the Lord amidst his trials. Just helps me remember the power of faith, that despite giants, betrayal, adversity, like actual enemies, not made up social media enemies, but like real people that are trying to physically kill him. David strengthened himself in the Lord. 1 Samuel 30, verse 6, that David went, okay, I'm going to fix my eyes on God and not my problems. And so big time hero. I love that. Won't it be great to meet him in heaven one day? Maybe scary. Him and his mighty men. Oh, I don't know. Yeah. All right. And then final question. I always like to ask people on the podcast, what's something big that Corey Jones is working on right now? So yesterday we had a very first meeting of a financial advisory committee team, and I called it that so that it could be the acronym. Oh, and I'm so glad you didn't invite me to that team, Corey. You know, as much as I would have loved to have been a part of that, I think I'm busy on that day. Yeah. So in kids ministry, I knew that my gifting was not leading worship. Corey was not the person on the stage leading worship. And then today I serve as our executive pastor. And I know there are people in my church who's way better gifted when it comes to financial things, especially big picture financial $1 million decisions, $10 million decisions. And so we pulled together an advisory council. So we have our eldership that makes decisions, but I wanted some people that could speak some wisdom into financials. And so we invited some big time CEO type people and put it all out there. And it's one of those things where the church is being the church and it's not dependent upon the kids pastor guy to run all kinds of financials. Right. What a great, so you already had your first meeting or you're putting it together? We met yesterday. It was good. Was it good? Did you all just meet at the church or? So they're CEOs and business guys. We met on Zoom. One guy was in Argentina doing something with racehorses. I have no idea. Another guy's in his office. He runs our local hospital, like all of the hospitals. And so getting those people in the actual room, that's a far-fetched stretch for me. But I got them on Zoom. They were phenomenal. They asked great questions. How neat. Was it hard to get them onto the Zoom call to commit to this? No. Scheduling, winavailable.com. It's one that you can put out there and then people can select, and it just makes that way easier for you. And then these are all people who just, like, we created stipulations. They need to love the Lord, obviously, but they need to be tithers and like generous people. If they're making financial decisions for our church, we wanted people that are bought in, literally. And so there are different qualifications for them that they needed to be a part of. And so these are all people who, if I called right now, they're going to take my call. Maybe they need to stop their surgery for a minute, but they'll take my call. Gotcha. I love that. That's so neat. Corey, thank you so much. I appreciate, Beth and I just love you and Nicole, and we're thankful for your friendship and everything that you're doing just to encourage pastors and leaders. You're making such a huge difference in Carrollton, Georgia, and really all around the world. So keep up the great work. There's a blessing. It is. Thank you. All right, podcast listeners, thank you for tuning in to the podcast today. Thank you, Corey, and we will see you all next time.